Brothers and sisters in Dhamma, we are going to start the morning session of preaching. You may all together recite Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa to start the Dhamma sermon with me. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Brothers and sisters in Dhamma, today is the full moon day of Poson. Early in the morning, you observe 8 precepts with the guidance of Chief Reverend and conducted the prayers with Buddha Puja to the Buddha. With the support of technological devices, as you are unable to attend physically to the events at temple. This is the time to listen to the preaching of the Buddha. Right now, we are going to discuss certain matters with regard to the importance of the full moon day or new moon day. In other words, the significance of Uposatha day or moon days. We are going to discuss right now with reference to the teachings of the Buddha in order to understand the reality why we observe the precepts on full moon day or new moon day. Therefore, I think this talk would be very beneficial for you to understand the importance of observance of precepts on full moon days. Actually, today is a very special full moon day to the all Buddhists in the South Asian countries and the other countries. When we think of the importance of this full moon day, especially in terms of Sri Lanka, this is the second most important full moon day for all Sri Lankan Buddhists. Everything in Sri Lanka was created according to the teachings of the Buddha because of a full moon day like today. Before going to this in details, I would like to explain Importance of Uposatha days. Normally, Uposatha day is translated as new moon or full moon days. This is actually when we think of the real or the Asian calendar, we call Chandramasa. Chandramasa is counted according to the nature of the moon, counting the months, days, and years based on the phases of the sun is the Buddhist way. This Buddhist way is linked to some sort of areas of astrology as well. You know, in a month, we have a day of the disappearance of moon. On that day at night, you can see the moon is not available. It disappeared totally. This day is called Amavaka in the language of the Buddha. In the language of the Buddha, we call it Amavaka. After that day, again, the light of the sun begins to arise. When it appears half of the sun, when we look at from the earth perspective, the arising of the sun light, we can see half. When it completes the right half of the light of the moon, we call it Atavaka. Atavaka means it happens on the 8th day, and this day is known as a Uposatha day or the Foyer day. We say in English observance, day of the observance. That day is recognized according to the lunar phases called New Moon Day. That means after the disappearance of the light of the sun, it began to arise again newly. When the new light comes, it appears totally half. This day is called New Moon Day. This New Moon Day is recognized as an auspicious day by the Buddhists around the world in order to practice their morality according to the teachings of the Great Master. After that, again, the sun starts to complete the other part with the light. When the light of the sun appears fully, this day is called Full Moon Day. Normally it happens on the 15th or 16th day after starting the new light rising. This full moon day we call Uposatha day. Normally in a year there are 12 full moon days. There are 12 full moon days in a year. Today is a day of a year. According to the Western calendar, today is the 6th full moon day in this year 2020. After today you can see from the earth that moon is full of the light. After today again this full light of the sun again begins to disappear. This disappearance also takes 15 or 16 days. Normally 15 days. In 15 days it totally disappear again. When it totally disappear again, on that day there is no moon in the sky at night. Totally all the night is very dark. That day also recognized as a Uposatha day or new moon day. Because that day is new, even though there is no moon, it is a sign to raise the new sun. It is a time to raise the new moon with the light. The light of the sun begins to arise again. In this manner, we can see the dawn of new moon and full moon day. We can see some new moon days, but in the world, according to the Buddhist calendar, there are only 12 full moon days. Today is the 6th full moon day in this year. This new moon day or full moon day, normally Buddhists around the world celebrate as the day of observance. As the day of observance. Therefore, in Pali, in the language of the Buddha, this is called Uposatha day. Uposatha day. Uposatha, the term is very important for you as Buddhist. As Buddhist, it's an important term for you. Uposatha means in English observance, the day of the observance. Why we separate one day to observe certain things? When you observe at least one day in a month, it would be better for you to make your life more beautiful in spirituality, and that will cause you to be more happier, to be happier in next lives. Brothers and sisters, You know, the Buddha has mentioned, if a person in this world lives for 100 years, that person because of the longevity in the life can be happy. But truly, according to the teachings of the Buddha, it's not the happiness. For the 100 years the person lives in this world, if he lives with misbehaviors or immoral practices, his life will be useless. No advantage, no spiritual development. That's why the Buddha mentioned, if a person lives in this world, if that person can live one day at least with moral practices, with the observance of the precepts, that one day would be the most important day in his life than the other days of the life. That's why, as the Buddhist leaders, we always encourage you, we motivate you to observe the 8 precepts or any other higher precepts on the full moon day and new moon days in order to support you to be happier, not to be happy, but to be happier in this life and next lives. You can have a celebrations in the life, maybe a birthday celebration. You every year enjoy this one, but you cannot earn a spiritual happiness. You cannot earn a real happiness. Just you celebrate your birthday only. But when you observe the precepts on a new moon day or full moon day, totally, or in one word we say in our Buddha's language, Uposatha day, this observance will make you more beautiful. This observance make you better. This observance make you more happy. It will make you happier person in the sansaric life. That's why observance of the precepts on the Uposatha day is most important. In that manner, according to the Buddhist calendar, arising of the full moon and the new moon days, we can define. When it comes to the Buddhist perspective, it is more important if you practice the observance of the precepts. It will cause you to earn more spiritual happiness. That's why we have this important day. That's why we consider full moon day or the new moon day, in one word, the Uposatha day. We have to think of practicing something spiritually. When it comes to today, the significance of today, Pusselle full moon day, we have to defined in terms of Sri Lanka actually. You know, today the Buddhist Maha Vihara is in Malaysia. It has been built by Sri Lankan Buddhist people who came to Malaysia to reside in order to practice their religion. Now you see, in some other countries, there are Buddhist temples from Sri Lanka. Even in Malaysia, in addition to Buddhist Maha Vihara, you can see there are a lot of Buddhist Sri Lankan temples. Not only that, when you go to your neighbor country, Thailand, it's a totally Buddhist country. In a certain period of Thailand history, in a certain period of Myanmar history, they lost Buddhism. On those occasions, again the Buddhism was re-established in those countries from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has contributed a lot of things to the world in re-establishing Buddhism. Establishment of the Buddhism is not a meaning of building the temples. Establishment of the Buddhism means establishment of the ordination and higher ordination in a country. That means monks' order. We have to establish and build the monks' order in a country. Then it means, according to the teachings of the Buddha, they have the Buddhism. Why I am telling this thing? Today is the full moon day that Sri Lanka was given the Buddhism officially. Poson full moon day is important because of that. The Buddhism arrived in Sri Lanka in 2000 years ago on a full moon day like today, Poson full moon day. During the time of King Ashoka in India and also during the time of King Devanam-Piyatissa in Sri Lanka. Buddhism was brought by the missionary groups of the Arahants and the other missionaries to Sri Lanka on the full moon day of Poson. Today is the Poson full moon day. The group leader of this missionary group is Arahant Mahinda. Arahant Mahinda, I saw in Ashoka Hall at Buddhist Maha Vihara. There are some Buddhist images on the wall. The arrival of the Buddhism to Sri Lanka, the picture is there. The artists have created that picture on the wall physically. So, Arahant Mahinda is the son of the Emperor Ashoka in India. After the Third Buddhist Council, he invited the Venerable Moggaliputta Tissa, the Arahant, to send the missionary groups to the surrounding countries to establish Buddhism. As a result, the Buddhism was brought to Sri Lanka by a missionary group On that occasion, the Emperor Asoka mentioned to send the missionary group, the main missionary group to Sri Lanka and to appoint his own son, Arahant Mahinda, as the missionary leader. Because in the Buddhist literature it is mentioned that the Buddha once said to the king of the gods, Sakka, in order to protect Sri Lanka as a country, the citizens of the Sri Lanka will protect Buddhism until the end of his order. So, because of that, to pay their attention to protect Sri Lanka as a country, the people in Sri Lanka will protect Buddhism for a long period of time in the human world. The Emperor Asoka concerned this matter and decided to send his own son. After that, to establish the Bhikkhuni order, sent his own daughter, Arahant Sangamitta. It happened later. It's also on a full moon day. Because of that, Buddhism was officially and formally introduced to Sri Lanka to the King Devanam Petissa, who was the ruler of Sri Lanka during that time. They landed in Sri Lanka on a full moon day of Poson. After that, Venerable Mahinda said like this, Samanamayan Maharaja Dhammarajasa Savaka Tamevanu Kampaya Jambudipa Idagata. Samanamayan Maharaja, Your Majesty, we are monks. Samanamayan Maharaja, Your Majesty, Samanamayan, we are monks. Jambudipa Idagata, we came from India. Jambudipa was the oldest name for India. Samanamayan Maharaja Dhammarajasa Savaka, we are monks. Dhammarajasa Savaka, we are the disciples of the King of the Dhamma. Who is the King of the Dhamma? That is Buddha, the exalted one, the blessed one, our great master. We are monks, Your Majesty. We are the disciples of the King of the Dhamma. Tamevanu Kampaya, for the supports of you, with the kind mind for you, with loving kindness for you, to help. Jambudipa Idagata, we came from India. In simple, we can understand the meaning, how Venerable Arahant Mahinda addressed the king. Your Majesty, we are monks, the disciples of the King of the Dhamma. With loving kindness towards you all in Sri Lanka, we came from India with the teachings of the Buddha. That was the simple meaning. After that, the king was introduced the Buddha's teaching in preaching the Chullahatti Padopama Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya by Venerable Arahant Mahinda. After listening to that talk, the Dhamma talk, the first Dhamma talk in Sri Lanka after the introduction officially. The king was very happy. After attainment of the happiness, what happened is he built the Maha Vihara in Sri Lanka in Mihintale today. A very famous tourist area, a sacred area today. It was the beginning of Buddhism in Sri Lanka officially. This Maha Vihara later became the central point in Sri Lanka of everything, culture, religion, government and everything in the country. Later on, there were many temples built by the kings, and by period to period, from generation to generation, Sri Lankan were protecting this great and sacred gift of the Buddha's order after the official introduction. Later on, the most important thing is some missionary groups were sent to Thailand, Myanmar and some other countries. There, Buddha's order after the official introduction, after certain periods, it disappeared. Because of this disappearance, Thailand Buddhist, Myanmar Buddhist and other countries Buddhist people, they lost Mahasangha Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni. Because of the disappearance of the monks and the nuns, they brought the Buddhism again from Sri Lanka. Sri Lankans monks went to those countries and they did ordination and higher ordination. They ordained those people and higher ordained and re-established Buddhism in those countries. After the re-establishment of the Buddhism in those countries, what happened? On a certain occasion, Sri Lanka also lost Buddha's order. Again, in return, Buddhism was brought to Sri Lanka from Thailand and Myanmar. And re-established Buddhism. It started Buddha's order with monks and nuns after giving ordination and high ordination. In this way, sharing the Buddha's order in establishing and in re-establishing, when we lost the monks, when the monks disappear, we could protect because of the official introduction of the Buddhism to Sri Lanka on full moon day of Poson. I think the Buddha has seen this through his divine eye. I believe and I trust, and we can find the evidences from the teachings and Buddhist literature. When the Buddhism disappears in other countries, Sri Lanka is the country who goes and re-establish Buddhism in those countries and protect Buddha's order for future generation until the end of his order. You think today we are sitting at Buddhist Maha Vihara and we are preaching to you because of a result of that official introduction of Buddhism to Sri Lanka. I think the present light of Buddhism in Malaysia through Buddhist Maha Vihara is the important thing. Buddhist Maha Vihara has been the central point of Buddhism in Malaysia. This is because of the Sri Lankan Buddhists who came to Malaysia and reside. Today this place has been an international institute of teaching Buddhism, learning Buddhism. The Buddhism was brought to here in this manner from Sri Lanka. Once a Chinese professor from China came to Sri Lanka, he has been spending time in Sri Lanka and could learn Sinhalese language. One day he comes to a TV program in Sri Lanka and says, many of the Chinese friends in his country come to Sri Lanka. His first question to that friends, what is the importance of Sri Lanka according to your view? Some say many things. Some say many things. Then in return they question this professor, Professor, how you see the importance of Sri Lanka? Then he replies in this discussion, because of the Theravada Buddhism in Sri Lanka is more important for me. He further clarifies the reasons. For the first time in the history, the Buddha's teaching have been jotted down or have been written in text in Sri Lanka. Pali Tripitaka. Pali Tripitaka was compiled by Sri Lankan Buddhist monks. After that, as a country, as a Buddhist country, it has gifted this Tripitaka to the world, Thailand, Myanmar, and Asian and Western countries. Today, it is the teaching or the text, collections of the text that the people around the world used to learn the Theravada Buddhism. The Theravada Buddhism, the teachings of the Theravada Buddhism were written by Sri Lankan Buddhist monks in the first time, for the first time in the history in Sri Lanka. Those written texts are the collections of the books we call Tripitaka. It is the major resources or the sources that people use in the world to learn Theravada Buddhism. It is because of the teachings introduced by the Arahant Mahinda from his teacher, from his master, the great master, the Buddha, to Sri Lanka. Therefore, the Poson full moon day, even though internationally as a country, Malaysia or Thailand or any other Buddhist country, do not have a direct link with this event, but you enjoy the Buddhism today because of this full moon day, because of an incident that happens on this full moon day in Sri Lanka. So current development, current light of current dissemination or spread of Buddhism in the world today has a link to Sri Lanka, and the incident behind all these stories is what happened on Poson full moon day on a day like today. Therefore, in this manner, we can see the significance of full moon day. Full moon day is very important for us in when we think of the spiritual side. In spiritual perspective, I said this is the day of the observance at the beginning of the talk. Now I would like to explain certain matters with regard to the observance. Uposatha day in Pali, in the Buddha's language. In English we call full moon or new moon day. Uposatha means the observance. What do you observe on this day? In what meaning does the full moon day or new moon day become a Uposatha day? When we think of that, there is a discussion between the Buddha and his male lay devotee, female devotee Visakha Upasika. Once he comes to the temple to see the Buddha and approach the Buddha, then the Buddha asked, "Dear Visakha, why are you coming to temple today?" Then she replied, "My Lord, I observed precepts. Today is the Uposatha day. That means today is full moon day or new moon day." Then the Buddha explains there are three kinds of observance in this world, Visakha. Three kinds of observance. The first is Gopaluposatha. You know the man, cowherd, who looks after the crowd of the cows. In the evening, after going to the home, at home he reflects in this manner. Today I brought my cows in this land, they ate the grasses. In this manner I brought them to this river, they drank a lot of water in this manner. I spent time with the cows here and there. What he did before handing over the cows to his owners, the cowherd reflects on the things what he did. In the same manner, some individuals in the world think, what I could eat today, what I could drink today, and reflects at night what they have enjoyed in terms of food and drinks. And also, meanwhile, the cowherd thinks, the man thinks, tomorrow, what I have to do, where do I take my cows from their owners to feed them, which land full of grasses, which river full of waters. In this manner again think. In the same manner some individuals in the world, dear brothers and sisters, they think, tomorrow what I am going to cook, what I am going to eat, what food I want to taste today, tomorrow, what kind of drinks and beverages available for me tomorrow to drink. In this manner, they think of the eating and drinking only. That has become an observance in their life. The Buddha says this is called the Sabbath of cowherd, observance of cowherd. It does not benefit for you for your happiness. It does not support you to earn spiritual happiness or inner happiness. Just spending time and your property. The second one is Uposatha. Uposatha means you observe precepts like Jaina monks. They are nude on the full moon day and new moon day. They think we do not belong to someone and anyone. We do not have anything. And they are nude. After the full moon day or new moon day, again they go to their parents, their wives, their children and enjoy the lay life. The people who said we do not have anything, again they dress up their clothes and they enjoy this. In this manner they tell lies. Their observance is, their Sabbath is telling lies. So telling lies would not be beneficial to anyone. So Buddha says it is also useless. It is also fruitless. It is also effectiveless, effortless. So the third observance is Uposatha. Uposatha means the observance of the perfected ones. Who are the perfected ones means the noble ones. Noble ones means the arahants. What they practice in their life, they are the practices of the perfect ones, noble ones, arahants. Perfected ones, they practice 8 matters. They practice 8 matters. They are called Panatipata, Adinnadana, Abhrakmacharya, Musavada, Suramere Majjapamadattana, Vikalabhojana, Nachagita Visuka Dasana, Malaganda Vilepana, Dharana Mandana, Vibhushanattana, and Uchchasayana Mahasayana. The 8 precepts you observe today, they are the observance of the perfected one throughout their lifetime. Their observance is coming in forms of 8 factors. The forms of the 8 factors we list, we arrange, we prepare in order called 8 precepts. These are the observance of the noble ones. This is the most important observance of the noble ones or the perfected one. They practice these things in their daily life. So their practices are adopted, are taken by you to observe on the full moon days. These forms of 8 forms of the practices we call 8 precepts. At least you observe 8 precepts. Normally on full moon day or new moon day, you practice the observance of these things. In addition, before this, there are some other 5 observances. The first observance is you think of the individual who want to earn the inner happiness and attain Nibbana on the full moon day or new moon day or any other day. The individual can observe. He thinks about the qualities of the Buddha, thinking Itipiso Bhagava Arahan Samma Sambuddho. In this manner, the person recollects the qualities of the Buddha. When he recollects the qualities of the Buddha, what happened? His mind is clean. His corrupted mind is clean. When he cleans the corrupted mind, his own corrupted mind with defilements, he arises happiness, enjoy, and corruptions in the mind are given up. After that, he observed the Brahmuposatha. Brahmuposatha means recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, and through recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, you clean your mind, you earn happiness, the defilements in the mind you drop up, you give up. That is called Brahmuposatha. Having thought of the qualities of the Buddha like Itipiso Bhagava Arahan Samma Sambuddho, the 9 virtues of the Buddha. Secondly, Dhammoposatha. You think of the Dhamma, Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo. In this manner, you recollect the qualities of the teaching and you clean your mind, you earn inner happiness, and you give up the corruptions of the defilements in the mind. That is called Dhammoposatha. Thirdly, you again come to the qualities of the disciples. You remind the qualities of the disciples, thinking Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, in this manner. And having recollected the qualities of the disciples of the Buddha, you clean your mind, the happiness or joy arises in the mind, you give up the corruptions of the mind which come as a result of the defilements. After that, this is called Sanguposatha. You can observe these also on a full moon day or new moon day. Otherwise, you can observe these 3 daily. On every day you can observe. After that, you turn to the ethical observance, Siloposatha. You think, how is my moral conduct? How I have misbehaved? So you control your misbehavior, you give up your misbehavior, you think of your personality. Individually, you think of your purity. How I have to become pure. How impure now I am. You think and you observe the ethics or the precepts like 5 precepts or 8 precepts or anything, and you control, you practice moral things. You give up the immoral things. Then you clean your mind. Then when you clean your mind, happiness arises in your mind and you give up the corruptions which come as a result of the defilements. This is called Siloposatha. After that, the most important thing, you think of the deities who are higher than you. You think of their comfortable condition. Why they have become deities? why they have become deities, what is the importance? They have observed Sila, they have practiced Saddha, the unshaken faith in this life. Their life was moral. They gave up immoral practices. As a result, that after passing away from the human life, they were reborn as deities in the heaven. Their age is like that. Their comfortable conditions are like that. You think about the life of a Deva, then you think of the life of all the Devas in the sixth heavens, and you think, if I practice these things in my life, I also can be reborn as a deity. You think in this manner and compare, then you make your personality is strong enough, is strong to protect and practice the moral practices in this life, and you observe that you cultivate moral practices, saddha, sila, samadhi, sati, panya, and other things, metta, karuna, mudita, upekka. After this is called Uposatha. You think of the practices of the Deva to become Deva, and you think, I also can. Yes, I can. You motivate yourself. You encourage yourself and practice and observe. Lastly, after that, you think, the highest people in the world are arahants, the perfected ones. Then you come to the 8 precepts. 8 precepts are the forms of the practices of the arahants in their life. As I said earlier, you practice. This is called Uposatha. Uposatha means the most noblest, the noblest practice, the most important practice, the noblest practice in the world. So, if there is something precepts we call 8 precepts, remember, brothers and sisters, it is the practice of the noble ones, arahants in their life daily, their day to day, their daily practices. So, with respect to them, having thought of their happiness and what they have earned, you have to think and you have to observe these things on full moon day or new moon day at least, while you are practicing 5 precepts on other days according to your capacity. So these are the significance, these are the practices that we have to practice on a full moon day or new moon day. New moon day or full moon day is called Uposatha day in Buddha's language. Uposatha means the special practices. You have to specially observe these things and practice. Then you can be higher than deities. You can be higher than any other beings in the world. You can be a true disciple of the Buddha. You can be a true people who practices the Dhamma. You can be a true follower of the Sangha. Then you can be a noble person who receives the respects even from the deities. I think this would be enough for you today to understand the observance of the full moon day or new moon day and the significance of the full moon day of Poson. So I think this would be enough to understand. I wish you the best health, long life in ages, success and happiness with the practice of this special observance, 8 precepts. May you be well and happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be able to attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. So I would be very happy to answer if you have any more questions. I would be happy to answer 2 more questions only because of the time. I have a question. No name, just I see the Facebook use only. Bhante, could you, Bhante, on precept number 6, taking one meal a day. Could you please elaborate what we cannot eat or drink after midday? Uh, and question number 2, precept 7 is the watching news on TV consider breaching the breaching precepts. Thank you for your clarification. I would be very happy to answer these two questions because I think precept number 6 is the Vikala Bhojana. Vikala Bhojana means you can eat anything which is not consider intoxication or alcohol. You can drink anything which is not considered as alcohol or intoxication that harm your life. And normally after 12 o'clock again the sun begins to uh, disappear. The rising of the sun is over. Then after 12:30 or 12:30 we stop in eating heavy things like rice, mihur or anything, what we call fruit. But you can drink something like tea, green tea or coconut water or something. Uh, this is called Vikala Bhojana. Vikala means when you have the food, you have to eat. eh? So whatever you have to eat, you have to stop. On the other hand, the precept number 7, watching TV, you see the clarification in the precept Nacha, Gita, Vadita, Nacha. You cannot watch the dramas like Nacha Gita, then you cannot listen to the songs, Vadita, any other musical instrument play. Visuka Dasana, you go to the description in English and you have to abstain. You have to abstain from watching those things. News, if you want to be careful with regard to such, for example, this time is COVID-19. You have to be aware of all the things. You have to be alert what government says, what medical officers says. In that case, your precept is not broken, I think, because you have to be alert. That's your life. You have to save. In that case, no harm. If you watch normally nowadays people are used to prepare and deliver the message of the Buddha through dramas or whatever things. But better you can watch those things apart from the observance of 8 precept day on the normal days. I think in that manner you can practice. I think that's enough. Mr. Leslie says, what Arahant Mahinda explained to King Devanam Petis actually in Mihintale. He has explained first in the discussion, the Arahant Mahinda wanted to test the knowledge of understanding of the king. Then he asked certain questions. We call the question of mango, question of the relatives. In this manner, he tested the understanding level of the king Devanam Petis. After that, he preached the Chullahatti Padopama Sutta. Chullahatti Padopama Sutta is a teaching of the Buddha having taken the elephants as the similes. So it's a middle length discourse. So what it has as the inclusion, simply no time to tell. It's another discussion, another Dhamma talk actually. So after testing his knowledge, understanding level of the king, Venerable Mahinda understood the king has a better understanding level to understand the teachings of the Buddha. In the first discussion, he wanted to test the king and the king whether he has first the understanding knowledge to understand the teachings of the Buddha. He asked the two questions. One is the question of mango, the, the second one is the question on relatives. So I think that's enough for that question. So I think this enough for you. May you be well and happy. May you be free from suffering. May you able to practice the noble practices. May you be able to earn the inner happiness and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana by the power of these merits. May all the Devas be well and happy. May all the Devas attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රැක්කන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රැක්කන්තු දේශනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවා නාග මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරන් රක්ඛං තුමන් පරන්ති සාදු සාදු සාදු